Well, let's see how that works out. Now that I got the hits all soaked, maybe they'll stay on a little better. They were wanting to slip their shackles. Good soaking for a day or two. Hopefully that will help. All right. On to it. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Continuing our little project from last night. Working on the tongs that we started last night. I gave a demonstration how to make tongs with no tongs in last night's live stream, and this is them. And they're going to work all right once I get everything set up here. Got to do a little adjusting. Well, I think the weather broke out of here last night. The wind came up about 2 this morning, and that means there's always changes. So we're supposed to have a high of 35 today, I think, here in Cody, Wyoming. Hello, good morning. Good morning greetings from Cody. Day 2 of the changing mustache. I'm going to change it every day until it's gone. I don't know what this is. Something from the 19th century, I guess. Oh, OG nasty. Okay, there you go. Wyoming is beautiful. This time of year, not so much. It's cold and windy. All right, I think I'm going to need a glove for this little trick. We're going to finish up the tongs, making tongs with no tongs, which I did last night on the live stream. And I probably will try to cut that into some videos at some point. I don't know. Maybe if I ever figure out how to do it. sheet a little bit with my little cutoff end there. All right, so quite educated. So now we got to get our reins right. Got one bent fairly good, but this one's not so great. So we're gonna put them in there, and I'm gonna adjust this. Adjust this. And then we'll fit them to something. Want to fit them to matter? Not particularly. We'll fit them to some 1/8" material. While the horseshoes are heating up and my coffee's kicking in, it takes 4 years to attain your sheepskin. I do know that this is ridiculous. That's about a month of growth, and that's about all I can stand it. So it's coming off. It's coming off. Okay, so here's how you do this. Piece of shotgun barrel. Something like that. You don't really need a vise. You can use a set of vice grips. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cody Iron Works. Lots of projects going today. Oh, let's check out our. There's our annealed draw knife from last night. That's going to work. We also forged this last night, and then last night's live. Yes. Coal's great for certain stuff, but well, we've got them working. Pretty sexy. I gotta adjust the reins a little bit. These will probably be a decorative set of tongs anyway. I didn't use wide enough material, and my reins got pretty thin. You can always cut them off and weld the rein on. Yeah, you're getting what we got yesterday. Hello, hello. Yeah, I like coal for some stuff. I generally do all my forge welding in coal if I can, because it gets so much hotter. It makes building stuff like that a lot easier. I actually don't use coal anymore. I use coke. And the coke, there's a company called L Brand Coal and Coke. And Professional Blacksmithers Association is using it. And I'm using the same stuff they're using, and it's really good. It isn't cheap. I think it's about $1,200 a ton now. Hello, Colorado, from Cody, Wyoming. That's our tongs done. So the parent material was 1/4 inch thick by 3/4. I'd really rather use 1/4 inch by 1 or 1 1/4, but I didn't have a piece of it laying in here, and I wasn't going to go climbing around in 30 below zero last night for better. But you can make tongs without tongs, and the first tool you should build is a chisel, and the second tool you should build is some tongs. Well, sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. It depends on what you're doing. Those will work. That's kind of a Viking style. To Gates, Bavaria. Wow, I'm getting them all over the place this morning. Well, we're about to start now that we finished our little project from last night. I'm gonna do some kind of artwork. I'm gonna do a piece of art with these, I think. I don't know what, but I'm going to. Nice to see you. You just heat up the ends. Well, if you're just doing flat stock, you would use them like that. If you want to heat up the ends, I'll show you. So you heat up the ends, and then you split this a little bit with a chisel, and then you lay whatever material is you're going to put in there, and you just give them a tappy tap. That's how you do that. And I generally make mine so they'll hold both ways. But this set of tongs was made exactly the same way. One-piece tongs. Tongs with no tongs. The only tongs I don't make that way are like farrier tongs, and these are the tongs I use every day for the horseshoes. Here's a little fancier set where I really overdid the bolsters on them, so I can really super strong. So yeah. Okay. Time for some work. You can carbon dip. Do you carbon dip? Case harden? Is that what you mean by carbon dip? I have been known to case harden some tools. Yes. That's much better. I can feel that that's a lot tighter. That's called quenching here. I quench pretty much everything in oil if I'm tempering it. It doesn't do much good to temper these tongs have been hot and in the oil a lot because I use them for quenching the knives. You get that black glossy finish on them, but I don't like it because it's stinky. If I'm going to put some kind of a coating on my tongs or whatever, most of the time I'll use linseed oil or beeswax is the coatings I choose. Huh? Quenching is mostly water to no. We don't quench too much in water around here because there's reasons. There's reasons. You got to do 80 of these. I do a couple of classes a year. I don't take apprentices anymore because apprentices are a pain in the ass. I do private knife making classes, and I do a lot of online class stuff. Like this is what I'm doing every day. So why? Why are they a pain? Yes, I know, Mr. Robert Hughes. I've been doing this 36 years professionally. And I know about hardened steel and carbon steel and mild steel and stainless steel. Yeah, I know all about it. 1,100 videos on YouTube alone. Why? Why are they a pain in the ass? I've had 30-year-old, grown 30-year-old men in this shop that did not know how to swing a hammer and didn't know how to push a broom. And I don't have time to be teaching somebody how to swing a hammer or push a broom. If you're coming in here, you better be at least smart enough to keep your safety equipment where you are. So, and I'm not exaggerating. I did a knife making class last fall. I had a 30-year-old man who worked for the Department of Defense, who clearly had a college education and literally didn't know how to swing a hammer. Where are we? Set up. Need. It's kind of like chess. You got to be working three steps ahead all the time. No. We were doing knives. It was a 2-day class, a very basic. We were doing very basic knives. Very, very basic. And I couldn't get him to get to this point. Greetings from France. Greetings from Cody, Wyoming. My son ended up having to help him, and he was here for an full extra day. So no apprentices. I'm done apprenticing. The last apprentice I took, we on a handshake deal. I said, okay, so I'm going to teach you this stuff, but you cannot compete against me here in Cody. You can sell your wares someplace else, but Cody is my region, and I want to be the guy here. And of course, he instantly went. And this is pretty typically of what I do. I think you guys ought to watch something else. Why do you care what Elon's doing? There's nothing you can do about it. It's the tail wagging the dog. Is Elon paying your bills? Is he screwing around with your wife? And what the hell difference does it make what he's doing? Shut that damn TV off. Watch some blacksmithing. Learn something. Get some art in your life. Make yourself happy. All right, there's most of the space still. Here's what you guys got to understand. Ain't none of it real. It's like watching WWF wrestling. It's like watching midget wrestling. The guy that was the heel yesterday is the hero today. It's like watching a soap opera. It's not real. Those people do not control anything. The entire world is run by oligarchs. It's always been run by oligarchs. If you are just watching it for entertainment's sake, great. Not today. I won't be shoeing any horses today. I have shot a lot of horses in my illustrious career, but not today. But there's a whole bunch of guys on here that do that work, and you can totally go watch their. If you want to see the very best horseshoers in the whole country, Greg Tanaka has a world champion blacksmithing, and it is a good watch. Well, 53 years. 53 years of being self-employed for the last 36 of it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now we're going to finish up these horse faces, but I'm going to do them over here. That's a dirty, dirty shoe. Dirty shoe. Dirty, dirty horseshoe. When you order something from me, a lot of times you might get a little Wyoming with you. Yeah, well, there you go. Well, then, right, you know all about it. Happy little horse faces. I got to do 80 of these. I think I've got about 10 done. But I do it in chapters. I'm not doing all 80 at one time. We're going to work on some other stuff, too. And I don't have to use, on these smaller shoes like this, I don't have to use the treble hammer. I can use this freehand. Have a good day. You have a good day. Well, I'm here a lot. Does it pay? Does it look like I'm starving? The surface area. What are we asking about here? I think it adds grip because of the surface area. Are you talking about the tongs? What are you talking about? Wait till you see what this turns into. All right, these little shoes. Get my magic little eye punch. This is called a pritchel. When you have those really pesky horseshoe nails that don't want to come out, you have to take a pritchel over the pritchel hole. You've got to knock them out. I don't generally have to do it. Generally, once you put them in the forge, they'll slide right out. Ooh, that one turned out pretty nice. Apparently, it isn't the surface area, but you get a tread like you would a car tire. Increases the grip. So, these are a very specialized type of tong. And these were made, this particular pair was made by a very famous farrier educator back in the 80s and 90s by the name of Jim Poor. And a tong that was designed for lifting a horseshoe has these little divots in it. Now, I don't know when horseshoers figured that out, that helps with the grip of the horseshoe, but it does. I am doing not just horseshoes, I also do a lot of flat stock, bar stock, take bar stock and make it into horseshoes and other things. So I modify mine a little bit. So I still have that farrier design, but man, do they hold. And that's why the inside of a farrier tong has that little dimple in it. But this is the difference between a guy who does 10 sets of tongs a year and a guy who does nothing but tongs every day. And these were a hand-forged pair of tongs. And he has a striker, he used to have. I don't even know if Jim's still alive. He has a striker that strikes for him to build that set of tongs. So here's my ugly-ass tongs. And here's Jim's very beautiful tongs. They're almost artwork. So do they work the same way? Yep. Do they do exactly the same job? Yep. But his are a lot prettier than mine. Oh gosh, no. No. The standard size horseshoes go from double aught to 2. And a double aught is that big. A 2 is that big. I might have a 2 here. So that's a 3. This is probably a 1. That's a 2. So they come in all different sizes. And a lot of farriers will make their own shoes if you're doing specialized stuff. Okay, wait, everything is going fast here, so I don't make any sense. I've had it. But... Oh, well, I'm sorry. You can always go find something else to watch. Cody playing with his tongs. Yeah. Okay. Some people are never satisfied. If 1 is good, 2 is better. If 2 is better, 20 is great. I personally believe, and I know this is going to make me sound like some kind of crazy socialist communist, nobody should have control of a billion of anything. Most people don't understand how much a billion is. 1,000,000 seconds, 1,000,000 seconds. If you started counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, to get to 1,000,000, it would take you about 12 days. To get to a billion would take you about 30 years. To get to a trillion would take you something like 280 years. So people don't understand. And even when I put it in those terms, people don't understand. They don't understand. I don't need to ban you from your channel. You're free speech. You can say whatever you want as long as you're not being foul. Don't like that. I actually voted for the Democrats. I haven't voted for Democrats. Not a lot of Democrats in Wyoming to vote for. There's very, very few of them here. Mm-hmm. Like I said, It's like watching midget wrestling. The heels today are the heroes tomorrow. Elon Musk was the favorite of the left a couple of years ago. Back in the 80s, when I was a young guy, I hated Donald Trump back then. Because he was from New York and I'm from Wyoming. I didn't like him even back then. I didn't like him. All right, but he was a hero of the left back then. Everybody in New York loved Donald Trump back then, and now they all hate him. Stick around long enough, it'll all change again. In the early 80s, everybody hated Jimmy Carter. Everybody hated him. He was the worst president. But they all showed up to his funeral. All of them. Everybody was at his funeral. It's theater. Depends on what I'm doing. I never make any of my tongs out of anything but mild steel. Mild steel. You do not want to use any kind of a hardenable steel for your tongs because they go through so many heat cycles, and that hardenable carbon steel doesn't like that. All these steels have different properties, so this is a jaw knife. It's made out of a medium carbon steel, which is what I use lawnmower blade. Lawnmower blade is really tough, but it doesn't harden up like a horseshoeing farrier rasp. This is a farrier rasp. There isn't much harder than a farrier rasp. So I make most all my punches and chisels and pritchels. I make those out of either oil field sucker rod or truck spring, coil spring out of a truck. But a lot of it has to do with how you temper it. Thank you. Here's a little tomahawk head I made. Same thing. It's made out of a horseshoeing rasp. Here's a Viking one. Here's a Viking style. Same thing. I folded it around. I took this rasp. I wrapped it in half. I forge welded a bit into it. So right here, this is 3 pieces of steel. It just depends on what you're doing, what kind of steel you use. And that comes from experience and a lot of failure, because that's part of the thing. When I started doing this 36 years ago or 37 years ago, I made a lot of mistakes because there was no internet. 36 years ago, there was no internet, and so you learned by building something, trying to use it, and when it failed, you built it out of something else. Some of these tools I have. I'll just pick some. Very, very common tools, right? So this is a center punch. This is made out of a piece of truck spring. And when I say truck spring, I mean truck spring. So this is why NJ, that's me, doesn't take apprentices anymore, because a lot of times I'll say truck spring, and they'll look at me like they aren't even aware that there's a spring in a truck. And so this is a truck spring, and it makes really great tools because it's super tough and it hardens. You can harden it. If you know how to deal with it, you can harden it. This axe was forged out of a piece of truck spring. Leaf spring, flat spring. Yes, there's two kinds of springs in a truck. There's coil springs and there's leaf springs. This is forged out of a leaf spring. It's probably very close to the same steel, a 51 series, 5160 or something like that steel. But it's super tough and it makes super good tools. But a good way to do this, if you don't know, if you can't look at a piece of steel and tell what it is, a good thing to do is, I need a tool. I need a chisel. Well, a good thing to do is go to the flea market, go to the pawn shop, and go buy a $1 old chisel. You can buy them for $1 at the pawn shop or at a flea market, garage sales, and then you modify them for what you need. That way, you know you have an appropriate piece of steel. You just have to experiment with tempering it. Once you heat it up, you have to know how the heat cycle works. So sometimes I'll buy tools and I'll modify them into things that I need. I don't do this too much anymore. Mostly now, I make my own tools. I used to be a big hunter. When I was a younger man, I did a lot of hunting, yes. We learned the hard way a lot when I was young because we didn't have the internet. Kind of look like a hunter. Um, I started as a farrier. I was a horseshoer, and the college that I went to in the little town of Powell, Wyoming, which is a community college about 25 miles away from here, offered a very good horseshoeing program, farrier science they called it. And I took that course. I actually took it twice because I like shoeing horses so much, and I wanted the time to learn how to blacksmith. So back then it was hard to get tools. It was hard to get tongs, pritchels, and all of that stuff because the internet wasn't there. So you had to learn how to build a lot of that stuff. So a lot of my tools, in fact, some of the tools I'm using today were tools that I made. I have some pritchels that I made in 1990. So I'm a blacksmith. Yep. That's what I call myself. A lot of people call me a lot of different things. And I call myself an artist blacksmith. And I've been doing it. I started working in steel in about 1988. I learned how to weld and stuff in high school, fabricate. And then in January of 1990, I started doing farrier courses, but I had shod horses before that because my father is a cowboy still, and he shod horses. So I learned how to shoot from him, and then I actually apprenticed with the farrier instructor at the college. So I rolled into farrier school knowing pretty much how to do it. What I didn't know how to do was the blacksmithing side. And so that was a 2-semester course. And I took this course and I started shoeing horses. And then I came back and I took the course again in 1990, 94, 95. I took it again because I wanted to improve my blacksmithing skills. Do you do sculptural stuff? Why, yes, I do. So here's some of my little wall hooks that I do. And here's the horse heads. These are all going out today. I got to finish them up later. And here's a little penny scroll. What else do I have over here? Oh, here. Here's the leaves. More horse heads. Here's a little doggy dragon guy. So yeah, I do sculptures. It's the most complex piece you have done. That chandelier. That was they're a lot of work, those chandeliers. And I do occasionally do chandeliers, but I've done some big stuff. Etsy. I have an Etsy store. If you just Google Cody Iron Works, it comes up. I've got about 45 products on there I sell. And then I sell at the local art league. And then I have a guy who has a knife shop in town. And he buys 3 or 4 dozen knives from me a year and sells in his knife store. And then I have a store called Treasured Memories in Cody here. And she sells a lot of my interior stuff. So she sells the hat racks, the toilet paper holders, a lot of the interior stuff, and then the artwork too, because I do signs and I do welcome signs and I do so much stuff. I do so much, but I do a lot of knives. This is the latest one. I'm not quite done with it yet. I got to finish the handle, but I apprenticed with a silversmith at Sundance Resort back in like 2000, and I'll show you some of the stuff that I do. So there's one of the knives. That's elk horn. Wapiti elk. I do. So this is copper and silver magumagame. So I've done a lot of bracelets. Used to do a lot of earrings. Sometimes I do a lot of like spoon rings where I take silver spoons and I made a tool so I can bend them into rings. I've never made a gun. It's on the bucket list. I'd love to make myself a fowling piece, a 20 gauge fowler. I'd love to do it one of these days, start to finish. I'll probably start with a kit. I'll probably get one of those I can't think of that guy's name. Oh yeah, tons of belt buckles, spurs, a lot of bits, spurs. I've made conchos, silver conchos. Yeah. 36 years, and if you're doing it every day, you're pretty prolific. You do a lot of different stuff. I've made springs for guns. I do a lot of stuff for reenactors. No, this is how I make my living. I've made my living shoeing horses, training horses, and blacksmithing since the mid 1980s. No, thanks, no. I have no desire. Appreciate it, but no, I'm not going to do that. Well, thanks for the likes, everybody. Thanks for the subscriptions. Appreciate it. take some classes. I almost guarantee you, where you live, someplace within 50 or 60 miles of where you live, unless you live in North Dakota or someplace like that, there is a blacksmithing organization, and they have a Facebook page. Even in BFE, Cody, Wyoming, they have a blacksmithing club here. I am not a member. I do support the club, but that's a great way to get started. And YouTube, you guys have this incredible resource, YouTube. I have 1,100 videos, and 1,000 of them are about blacksmithing. New Zealand. It's pretty easy. Doesn't take much. Ah, yeah, there you go. There's a ton of guys out there who do it as a hobby. There's a lot of them. Oh, my favorite hammer. Good question. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I have 4 of these, and I actually link them. I like them so much that I link them in my videos. You can get them at walmart.com. These are a diamond. Some people call them a rounding hammer. Some people call them a turning hammer. Hello. They have a round face and they have a flat face. These are like a 36-ounce hammer. They make a 2-pound one, which is a good size to start with. And as far as I've been using this same style hammer, I still have the original one from 1990. This is the original one from 1990, the original head, not the original handle. And I make a living with it, so that tells you how they last if you take care of them. And as far as this, you can do 90% of blacksmithing with a good turning hammer. And you don't really want to start with anything heavier than this, because you'll hurt yourself. So there you go. Diamond. Diamond is the company. They make horseshoes. They make farrier tools. They make wrenches. They used to make crescent wrenches, adjustable C wrenches. But I think this is the best tool that they make. I think they're up to like $80 now, and they're well worth it. What is the handle made of? These are hickory. Yeah, I do 90% of my forging with one of these. If I'm not using this, occasionally for some of the decorative stuff, I use a cross peen. I have no idea. I think this is some unnamed brand cross peen. I kind of like it because the inside face is a little square here, so if you're doing stuff up against something, it's pretty easy to get up in there. So I kind of like this one. That's probably pretty close to a 2-pound hammer. Then you need a couple of ball peens, and I have them in every size. I have them from 8 ounces up to, these are 32, and that's about as big as you could find anymore. You used to be able to get 42-ounce ones. Plum used to make a 42-ounce one, but I don't think they really do. That's the biggest one I have, and it might be, it's just a little bigger than the Vaughn, so it might be a 40-ounce, something like that. But you need them in all different sizes. Everybody's going to try to talk you into one of these. These are ridiculous. They're like $300 now. Don't waste your money. They're terrible. terrible. They're ergonomically, they're not good. I don't even know if Big Blue is in the anymore, but the handles are too short. There's not enough room in here for doing up close work. It gets used more as a tool now underneath the power hammer. Machining like CNC machines. I have not. I'm a Luddite. This is the tool that I use. I don't even own a computer. I've got almost 115,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I do it with a $200 Motorola phone. So I don't do CNC work. I have run a lathe just a little, but it's not something that I really specialize in. So I take any of that kind of machining work to a professional machinist myself. No, because two toe balls are going to cost you more than a hammer. Look, I buy them by the gross. I give them away for the classes. You can buy them by the dozen on eBay. You don't really need anything. I mean, there's a reason that Vaughn has made these 32-ounce ones for all these years. And you're going to modify them. You're not going to like the shape, so you're going to grind on this son of a gun. Have to custom make your hammers? No. No. I have made hammers in the past, but for the amount of time and effort that it takes to make hammers, I buy them. It's one of the only tools in the shop that I don't make myself. So I don't make anvils. I haven't made an anvil in 30 years. I take that back. I made one for my son for his 10th birthday. But I don't make anvils. I don't make hammers, but all the rest of the tools I make. But you can modify them. You can go buy them. You can buy old heads, rehandle them. This is a Hellerson son. And then you can modify them to whatever you need. And I've done that a lot. Modified a lot of hammers. You're not going to want to do a lot of blacksmithing with a ball peen. They are very weight forward. So they got way more weight on one side than the other. And if you're swinging them hard for long periods of time, they hurt your elbow. A ball peen hammer was designed for setting rivets. That's why it has this end on it. They were designed for setting rivets. You can use them for other things, but that's what they were designed for. What I'm doing when I strike that anvil, especially when I'm doing this stuff, I'm using both sides of this hammer. So this side has a round face and this side has a flat face. And so what I'm doing is I'm going bang, bang. So I'm drawing material out with the round face, and I'm flattening and taking planishing blows, or those blows with the flat face, and then I'm drawing out with the round face. So I'm going bang, 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 bang. And see how my handles are squared up? That makes that really easy. I don't have to squeeze the hammer handle as hard. Yeah, well, hammers are cheap. You can modify them any way you want to. Well, they weren't designed. Yeah, I mean, I guess you can. You could make one and make the ball peen heavier, but I find that I can do the work of a ball peen with this hammer because it also has a round face on it. I can get over and I can use this part of the face to peen. In fact, that's what I was using to set that rivet on that pair of tongs I did this morning. I forge welded this day before yesterday. I forge welded this on the night before last live stream with this hammer. So this was a rasp when I started. It turned into a forge welded tomahawk head with this hammer. Actually, I didn't start with this hammer because this hammer is too heavy. When you're doing forge welds, you want a light hammer. You're just trying to set the weld. If you hit it too hard, you bust your welds apart. Yeah, so I used the flat part of this thing. Go watch it. So it's in my live streams from night before last night. See, I'm not. I, I'm not buying. If, if I need a custom hammer for something, I'm going to build it myself. Um, so I'm not buying hammers. I bought one hammer from somebody else, that big blue hammer, and I paid. This has been 20 years ago. I paid $200 for that hammer 20 years ago, and I was not impressed. And so that no more custom hammers for me. Yeah, I buy my hot handles from there's a guy in Virginia that has a duplicating machine, and I get them from him off of eBay. That's where these came from. And of course, it didn't have all this on when I got it there in the lane. And he sells hickory, ash. He does something else. Hickory, ash, and birch, maybe. I mean, I could see if you were doing a lot of like silversmithing or something really delicate where you had to have polished faces on your hammers and all of that. I could totally see spending some money on a custom hammer. But it's been several years since I bought them, so I don't know. Back then I was paying $4 or $5 a piece for them, but I'm sure they're way more than that now because shipping's gone up and inflation. So it could be $8 a piece. I don't know. Yeah, that's about what I was paying for them, $4 or something. And I buy them by the dozen. So I could totally see if you were doing chasing, something very small, you would have a small hammers for doing chasing work. But I don't do enough of it to, I can tell the difference very much. If I was doing one thing and that's all I was doing, maybe the hammer would make it more of a difference. Cool. That's really good. Yeah, that's part of the reason I don't make hammers because if I made hammers, somebody wants to buy my hammer for me. If I build a hammer, it's going to cost you $400 because I'm going to have 4 or 5 hours in it. I have every bit of 4 hours in this axe, every bit of 4 hours in this axe. Now, my shop rate, I always figure my shop rate's about $100 an hour. So to build this axe, that's going to be the very minimum it's going to be is a $400 axe. Are there people willing to pay that for one? Yeah. But I'm not willing to forge them for that. Because in that same 4 hours that it took me to make one of these axes, I can do 15 $50 hat racks. Well, I think that's pretty standard. 100, 110, depends on what I'm doing. I figure that I'm as specialized as a machinist. And there are machinists here in Cody that bring their stuff to me because they don't want to forge it. They don't have the ability to forge it. I have people clear from Powell who own a machine shop in Powell who bring stuff to me because they don't want to forge it. People have a certain look about stuff. They don't want it to look machined. They want it to look hand forged, so they bring it to me. So if the machine shops is bringing me shit, I should be getting the same rate as a machine shop. See, I'm doing a different. I don't do much custom work anymore. I have the Etsy store. I have the stores downtown, but I build what I want. I'm at a point now where I'm not doing very, very little custom work. I did this for a buddy, but I'm not doing tons of. I'm not doing custom work now. Like in the spring, I'll do branding irons because I've been doing branding irons for 30 years. But branding irons aren't really a custom thing for me. But I don't make a point of doing custom work. You know, machine shop, that's all a machine shop does is custom work. Yeah, it doesn't quite work that way. Because I'm more on the production side. I'm not doing a bearing. I got to do 80 hat racks. I'm doing 80 hat racks for one person. And so you can't charge that rate for that. It just doesn't work out. But I have a wholesale rate and I have a retail rate. And if you order 4 of something, you're going to pay the retail rate. If you order 80 of something, that comes a little cheaper. All right, I'm gonna go get some breakfast. I'm gonna make myself a cup of coffee, go get me some breakfast. We're an hour and a half into this live stream. You've melted my brains with your questions for an hour and a half. All of you folks. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing in here. If you want to see actually what I do to make a living, it's Cody Iron Works. Cody Iron Works. You can just Google it. This will be backwards. No, I got a ton of stuff, but I am gonna go get some breakfast. I'm gonna go have an egg, another cup of coffee. I might not go outside because the wind is howling about 80 miles an hour here in Cody, Wyoming, but I am gonna go get me another cup of coffee. Everybody have a great day. Get hot and hit it always with your safety squints. Please subscribe and go watch some of my videos. Thanks, everybody.